viewers. I welcome you all for the series of lectures on tourism in United States of America. In this episode, you will understand the basic information, some facts and figures about the popular tourism country United States of America, and many aspects of tourism in the USA. We also can understand the etymology, historical evolution, geographical features, climate and culture of the country USA. For your convenience, this episode has been divided into 5 segments: etymology, history, geographical features, climate and tourism, and the culture. First, coming to etymology. United States of America, commonly referred to as USA or United States, that is US or America, is 4th largest country by land area, consisting of 50 states and a federal district. 48 contiguous states and 2 states separated from mainland and Washington DC, a federal district. Alaska, the largest state in the country, separated by Canada and Hawaiian archipelago located in mid-Pacific Ocean. Country also has number of inhabited and uninhabited territories in Pacific and Caribbean. United States is 3rd most populous country in the world with 320 million people. The USA is a developed country and also has the world's largest economy in terms of nominal and real GDP, result of rich natural resources with high worker productivity. The country continues to be the world's largest manufacturer, accounting for 34% of global military spending and 23% of world GDP. It is the world's foremost economic and military power, a prominent political and cultural force, and a leader in scientific research and technological innovations. USA has ample tourism resources, made this country a popular tourism destination in international tourism map. Country has everything to offer, ranging from beautiful landscapes, stunning mountains, cascading waterfalls, picturesque beaches, rich wildlife, cruise to Alaska and Caribbean, volcanic islands, gambling city and nightlife, Hollywood and many more. USA is in the 1st and 2nd place in terms of annual total receipt by tourism and total number of international tourist arrival respectively. Facts and figures. Total area 9.857 million square kilometers. Population 318.9 million as per 2014 statistics. The capital city is Washington DC. Largest city is New York by population. Total number of states is 50. The present president is Barack Obama. Currency is United States dollar USD. International dialing code is +1. Language English, which is the official language, followed by Spanish, Chinese and French, which are the other spoken languages. GDP per capita is $53,041.98 US. Total tourist arrival is 74.8 million international visitors in 2014 according to the UNWTO statistics of 2014. History. The available evidences says that the first inhabitants of North America migrated at least some 15,000 years ago from Siberia through Bering Land Bridge, though increasing evidence suggests an even earlier arrival. Some, such as the pre-Columbian Mississippian culture, developed advanced agriculture, grand architecture, and state-level societies. After the Spanish conquistadors made the first contacts, The native population declined for various reasons, including diseases such as smallpox and measles and violence. Colonization in USA started after Columbus' first voyage to the New World in 1492. Other explorers followed with this settlement into the Floridas and the American Southwest. Successful English settlement on the eastern coast of North America began with the Virginia colony in 1607 at Jamestown and the Pilgrims' Plymouth colony in 1620. In the early days of colonization, many European settlers were died due to food shortages, disease and attacks from Native Americans. Native Americans were also often at war with neighboring tribes and allied with Europeans in their colonial wars. At the same time, however, many natives and settlers came to depend on each other. Settlers traded for food and animal pelts, natives for guns, ammunition and other European wares. Natives taught many settlers where, when and how to cultivate corn, beans and squash. Most settlers in every colony were small farmers, but other industries developed within a few decades as varied as the settlements. Cash crops included tobacco, rice and wheat. Extraction industries grew up in furs, fishing and lumber. Manufacturers produced rum and ships, and by the late colonial period, Americans were producing 1/7 of the world's iron supply. Cities eventually dotted the coast to support local economies and serve as trade hubs. US fought in many wars and made treaties with foreigners and neighboring territories for independence and in forming present-day USA. The American Revolutionary War was the first successful colonial war of independence against a European power. Americans had developed an ideology of republicanism, asserting that government rested on the will of the people as expressed in their local legislatures. They demanded their rights as Englishmen, no taxation without representation. The British insisted on administering the empire through Parliament, and the conflict escalated into war. Following the passage of the Lee Resolution on July 2, 1776, which was the actual vote for independence, the Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, which proclaimed in a long preamble that humanity is created equal in their unalienable rights and that those rights were not being protected by the Great Britain, and finally declared, in the words of the resolution, that the 13 colonies were independent states and had no allegiance to the British Crown in the United States. The 4th day of July is celebrated annually as Independence Day. Civil Wars. After independence, country had faced 2 civil wars due to difference of opinion and social order between North and South states, particularly regarding to the black slavery. American Civil War resulted in creation of free and slave states. After 1860 election, anti-slavery Republican Party aimed abolition of slavery. The war remains the deadliest military conflict in American history, resulting in the deaths of approximately 618,000 soldiers as well as many civilians. Following the Union victory in 1865, 3 amendments were made to the US Constitution. The prohibition of slavery gave US citizenship to the nearly 4 million African Americans who had been slaves and promised them voting rights. The war and its resolution led to Reconstruction era and a substantial increase in federal power aimed at reintegrating and rebuilding the southern states. Industrialization. The industrialization stage is an important part of the US history. Industrialization played a major role in forming the present-day United States as a mighty power in the world. Large migration from Europe and urbanization in northern part of USA supplied surplus of labor as a great workforce for the development of industry in this country. Manufacturing units in automobile, electrical goods, military equipments and weapons and growth in the telegraph and railway supported the country's economy. Rapid economic growth at the end of the 19th century produced many prominent industrialists, and the US economy became the world's largest. Next is about USA and World Wars. United States was not the active participant of the First World War, remained neutral at the outbreak of the First World War in 1914. But by 1917, US joined the Allies, helping to turn the tide against the Central Powers. In the Second World War, also, the United States was neutral during early stages but began supplying material to the Allies in March 1941 through the Lend-Lease program. The external support of US by supplying war materials to Allies made Japan unhappy, and on December 7, 1941, the Empire of Japan launched a surprise attack on submarines of US and on Pearl Harbor. This attack of Japan prompted the United States to join the Allies against the Axis powers and actively took part in the Second World War. During the war, the United States was referred as one of the four policemen along with Britain, the Soviet Union and China. Though the United States lost more than 4 lakh soldiers, it emerged as relatively undamaged country from the war because of its greater economic and military influence. The United States developed the first nuclear weapons and used them on Japan on Hiroshima and Nagasaki cities, which is considered as the deadliest attack in the human history of wars. The nuclear attack on Japan made Japanese to surrender on September 2, 1945, ending the Second World War. The present President Barack Obama is the first African American and multiracial president. Barack Obama was elected for the first term in 2008 and again for the second term in 2012. The tenure of Barack Obama will end in 2016 after the upcoming election in USA. Geographical features of major regions. The United States of America consists of 48 contiguous states and 2 non-contiguous states of Alaska and Hawaii. United States also owns some of the overseas territories and possessions in many parts of the world. Alaska is separated from the contiguous United States by Canada, which is the largest state, and Hawaii is an archipelago in the Central Pacific Ocean located southwest of North America. The United States is the world's 3rd largest nation by total area including land and water, ranking after Russia and Canada, subject to land border disputes on 2 territories between China and India. USA shares land boundary with Canada in north and with Mexico in the south, east by Atlantic Ocean and west by Pacific Ocean. The diverse geographical features of this vast country produced huge opportunities for different tourism activities. USA has almost all types of physical geographical features such as mountains, valleys, fertile river basins, snow-covered peaks, plains, coastal plains, active and dormant volcanoes, grasslands and deserts. Some of the important geographical features of USA are Appalachian Mountains in the east, Mississippi and Missouri rivers in center, Pacific coastal plains in west, Great Lakes in northeast, and Rocky Mountains in western parts of the mainland USA. Alaska is the largest state separated by mainland, which has number of glaciers and snow-covered mountain peaks. Hawaii, a small state, consists of numerous islands, has some world's most active volcanoes. The Appalachian Mountains divide the eastern seaboard from the Great Lakes and the grasslands of the Midwest. The Mississippi-Missouri River, the world's fourth longest river system, runs mainly north-south through the heart of the country. The flat, fertile prairie of the Great Plains stretches to the west, interrupted by a highland region in the southeast. The Rocky Mountains runs parallel to western edge of the Great Plains, extend north to south across the country, reaching altitudes higher than 14,000 feet in Colorado. Further west are the Rocky Great Basin and deserts. The lowest and highest points in the continental United States are in the state of California and located only about 135 km from each other. At 20,320 feet, Alaska's Mount McKinley is the tallest peak in the country, and in North America, active volcanoes are common throughout Alaska's Alexander and Aleutian Islands, and Hawaii consists of volcanic islands. The supervolcano underlying Yellowstone National Park is the continent's largest volcanic feature. Coming to climate and tourism. The United States, with its large size and geographic variety, includes most climate types. The climate ranges from humid continental in the north to humid subtropical in the south. The southern tip of Florida is tropical, as is Hawaii. The Great Plains west of the 100th meridian are semi-arid. Much of the western mountains have an alpine climate. The climate is arid in the Great Basin, desert in the southwest, Mediterranean in coastal California, and oceanic in coastal Oregon and Washington and southern Alaska. Most of Alaska is subarctic or polar. Extreme weather is not uncommon as the states bordering the Gulf of Mexico are prone to hurricanes. Seasons. Spring is in the month of March, April and May. Autumn, September and October. Summer, June, July and August. Winter is between November to February. Best time to visit the US. The United States has varied weather conditions due to its large size and different topography. The best time to visit US depends on two things. One is location and the season that tourists would like to visit. Climate varies from place to place even in the same season. Summer is considered the peak tourist season throughout the country. Spring and autumn are generally cooler, more comfortable times to visit. Winter temperature varies substantially from place to place. Some states are pleasant to visit in winter, whereas some states will completely be covered with snow for several months. Required clothing. As the US is a vast country with varying climates and 4 distinct seasons, tourists from other parts of the world need to carry clothing according to the places they are visiting and season in which they are visiting, especially if you plan to travel to different regions of the country. Visiting northeastern states and Alaska may require some warm clothing, whereas western states and Florida need cool and cotton fabrics. Clothing is also based on activity that tourists are performing. Outdoor and adventure lovers will need to carry clothing and shoes that are appropriate for the terrain and the activities they have planned. Moving on to the culture. The United States is most ethnically diverse and a multicultural nation, home to a wide variety of ethnic groups, traditions and values. USA has large scale of migrated population from many of the countries from all other continents. American culture is considered the most individualistic in the world. the American dream, or the perception that Americans enjoy high social mobility, plays a key role in attracting immigrants. While the mainstream culture holds that the United States is a classless society, scholars identify significant differences between the country's social classes affecting socialization, language, and values. Along with Native American, Native Alaskan, and Native Hawaiian population, mainstream American culture is a Western culture largely derived from the traditions of European immigrants with influences from many other sources such as traditions brought by slaves from Africa. More recent immigration from Asia and especially Latin America has added to a cultural mix that has been described as both a homogenizing melting pot and a heterogeneous salad bowl in which immigrants and other descendants retain distinctive cultural characteristics. Population. The US Census Bureau currently estimates the country's population to be 32 crore 13 lakhs and 2,000. The US population almost quadrupled during the 20th century from about 76 million in 1900. The third most populous nation in the world after China and India, the United States is the only major industrialized nation in which large population increases are projected. The United States has a very diverse population. 37 ancestry groups have more than 1 million members. German Americans are the largest ethnic group, are more than 50 million, followed by Irish Americans 37 million, Mexican Americans 31 million, and English Americans 28 million. Religion. The US Constitution allows the free exercise of religion for the citizens of USA. Christianity is by far the most common religion and largely practiced religion in the US. But other religions are followed too. According to a 2014 survey, 70.6% of adults identified themselves as Christian, in that 46.5% are Protestant while 20.8% are Roman Catholics. The non-Christian religions are 5.9%, and this other religions population include Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism. The survey also reported that 22.8% of Americans describe themselves as agnostic, atheist, or simply non-religion people. Languages. English or American English is the national language. Although there is no official language at the federal level, some laws such as US naturalization requirements announces English as the official language as well. There is a good number of population speaking several other languages in the US, which include Spanish and French. Hawaii and Alaska have some native languages spoken in the state. Food. Mainstream American cuisine is similar to that in other Western countries. Wheat is the primary cereal grain with about 3/4 of grain products made of wheat flour, and many dishes use indigenous ingredients such as turkey, venison, potatoes, sweet potatoes, corn, squash, and maple syrup, which were consumed by Native Americans and early European settlers. These homegrown foods are part of a shared national menu on one of America's most popular holidays, Thanksgiving, when some Americans make traditional foods to celebrate the occasion. Characteristic dishes such as apple pie, fried chicken, pizza, hamburgers, and hot dogs derive from the recipes of various immigrants. French fries, Mexican dishes such as burritos and tacos, and pasta dishes freely adapted from Italian sources are widely consumed. Americans drink 3 times as much coffee or tea. Music. When we are speaking about tourism in USA, we must mention about American music. The unique music combines rhythmic and lyrical styles of African American music have deeply influenced American music, distinguishing it from European traditions. Elements were taken from folk idioms such as the blues, and what is now known as old-time music were adopted and transformed into popular genres with global audiences. The popular style of music jazz was developed by innovators such as Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington early in the 20th century. Country music developed in the 1920s and rhythm and blues in the 1940s. Summary: the United States of America, commonly called as USA or simply US, is not only a large country in size but also a large or big name in its culture, economic development, high social morality, high standard of living and tourism as well. All the favorable factors in this country attract a lot of international tourists to visit this naturally and ethnically rich country, making it one of the top tourist destinations in the world. In coming chapters, we are discussing in detail about the tourism and most popular tourist attractions in the United States of America. Thank you.
Your smile, I've been looking at you forever, but I never saw you before. And these your hands holding mine. Now I wonder how I could have been so blind. For the first time